Okay, let's take a look at CGCP 1700 by Chesthetica. So this is a study-like construct, an endgame position basically in this case. And you can see that white has a rook, bishop and pawn against black's 2 bishops and knight. So material is almost even. But white has a pawn that's about to promote to a square that is guarded by the bishop on h4, even though the pawn is defended by the rook on d5, which happens to be attacked by the king on c6. Black also has his knight on f1 and bishop on d1. So the challenge here is to find the move with white to play and win. Let's take a look at the analysis. Okay, so as you can see, all the other moves are basically a draw for white, except king to h3. Would you have made this move in this position? Let's consider some alternatives. Now, there are many things that you could do in this position. For example, promoting the pawn to a queen. But why does this lose? Because after knight to e3 check, which forks the king and the rook, the king moves away, and then after bishop captures d8, the rook captures d8, and now what have we got? We have got king, rook and bishop against king, bishop and knight. So forcing a mate is not going to be easy here. The position is basically drawn. What about something else? What about capturing this free bishop here on d1? Well, then after knight to e3 check, don't forget this fork. The king tries to move away. Knight captures d1. Maybe bishop to b5 check. King to c7. King captures h4. Knight to f2. And we have basically a draw because the knight is going to capture that pawn. And then it would be impossible to force a checkmate with just a king and a bishop. What about king captures this forking knight? Well, then king captures d5. And suddenly we have king, bishop and pawn against king and 2 bishops. This also is clearly a draw, even though it's leaning towards black being slightly advantageous. Alright, so now let's take a look why king to h3 actually wins. What can black do here? If king captures rook, well then king captures h4, and then that pawn is going to promote. Black only has a light colored square bishop, and the queening square of the pawn is dark colored. And the knight is too far away to reach that pawn. What about bishop to f6? Well, then this loses to rook captures d1. Now white is ahead in material by about a piece and can eventually win. What about bishop to d8? This is probably how black would proceed, halting the advance of that pawn even more than just guarding the square, physically halting it from moving forward. At the same time providing some support or defense on the queen side of the board. White will still play rook captures d1, and then maybe knight to e3, rook to d3, knight to f5, bishop to c4, king to c7, bishop to e6, knight to e7, king to g4, knight to c6, king to f4, bishop to f6, king f5, bishop e7, king e4, knight d8, king d5, king moves to b6, rook to f3, bishop g5, rook c3, bishop e7, rook c8. And this is how white would put pressure on the last or back rank. Black has to play very carefully to extend the game, but the basic principle is going to be that white is going to try to exchange perhaps his bishop for the knight, and then we'll have a position of king, rook and pawn versus king and bishop, and that can force the win. As you can see from the engine analysis also, the position is basically won. We can go back to the key move of king to h3. If we shut off one of the engines and give more processing power to the other one, you can see that even after bishop to d8 and rook captures d1, knight to e3 and then rook to d3 or rook to d2, knight to f5, bishop to c8 perhaps, you can see that white has a distinct advantage. Hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching.